Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is James Caton, and this is Generate Now, the Microsoft podcast, where you will hear from our partners and our customers on their generative AI successes. Today we have TCS and Proximus talking to us about how GitHub Copilot is transforming IT service delivery in the telecommunications industry. So if you want to understand how GitHub Copilot can deliver improved results aligned with your industry standards, or if you're a young developer wondering how your role might change with GitHub Copilot, please stay on the line and catch these two wonderful speakers. Thank you so much. Murali, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, James.
If you could very quickly tell us about yourself, the work that you do at TCS, and then we can have a discussion about the project that you helped to manage.
My name is Murali. I head the business unit for AI, cloud, and data services, focused on communication, media, and information services industry within TCS. And it has been very interesting to talk about Proximus because it's one of our early engagements. And TCS and Proximus, we share a very long-standing relationship for close to 24 years. And we have been engaged with them, providing strategic IT services, including transformation across the entire telco value chain, right from OSS to BSS, network, data, and whatnot. So we are one of the strategic partners in the IT services for Proximus. And we have significant contextual knowledge in terms of their business processes as well as on the IT systems. And that is where we started with engaging on the AI journey with Proximus.
Outstanding. So, Murali, the conversation was around a GitHub Copilot implementation. How did that conversation start with Proximus? What pun intended, generated the discussion where they came to you or you went to them and you said, I believe GitHub Copilot, the new generative AI capabilities, could provide value for Proximus. How did that conversation start?
And I would recollect that this conversation was probably about 2 to 3 quarters back, where Bernard and team and we had a discussion on to see how do we infuse AI into the overall IT development and operations. And that is where we started discussing on introducing GitHub Copilot into their IT development. And we started thinking on how do we really start small, have a good understanding from there, shift up the basics, and then take on from there. So that is how we started the conversation. And then we dig deeper into see how do we really shape it up. So while there are a number of squads that are at the network IT, we picked up as a pilot about a couple of squads in the network area. And we started looking at how do we define the basics, which is in terms of what is the productivity, what is the improvement in terms of quality, and how do we really people start embarking on that from the developers and the testers, all of that. So that's how we started with that. Internally, we also looked at what are the key things that we want to try. We looked at it in 3 dimensions. One is in terms of the efficiency and productivity. Second, in terms of experience imparted to the developers and testers. And the third one is about doing the operating model improvements across the entire development value chain. So that's how we started, and it's an interesting conversation from there on. And with these 2 squads that we chose for pilot, we started with completely handpicking up a set of team who we trained completely on GitHub Copilot about the features, the functionalities, how does it sit on top of the applications, all of that. And then those trained people were given certain use cases, user stories to develop upon. And then we started looking at capturing the metrics in terms of productivity, in terms of developer feedback, it's very important to make sure the developers or the testers are the key stakeholders in the journey, and they need to be completely onboarded. And stakeholder alignment is particularly an important task to focus on, and that's where he captured their feedback at every single stage on across the use case. And then finally, we summarized to see what kind of development metrics, productivity metrics came on. And also we looked at how can we really focus on streamlining the entire processes across the DevOps cycle, so that what we develop as a productivity in a particular area, say development or testing, how does it seamlessly translate to the entire value chain so that we can do more with less in terms of more throughput of user stories or accelerate the development time to market, etc. So that's how we went upon in this journey. And we did a 8 weeks exercise jointly with Proximus, and we have had champions identified, and it was a fantastic collaborative work that both the teams worked together and had these findings, which gave us a lot of insight about what's in store, especially when we roll out to the entire network IT. And from there on, based on our learnings and experience, we defined strategy and roadmap for the enterprise-wise rollout. Right now, we are in the journey of completing the enterprise-wide rollout.
So Murali, you mentioned that one of your initial steps was KPIs, defining KPIs. That's probably a place where across the industry, people and organizations who are starting the process that you've already gone down, right, are struggling. What are the right KPIs? How do I pick the right 3 or 4 or 5 rather than boiling the ocean and getting 10 KPIs? Could we talk a little bit about how you selected the KPIs, how many KPIs you selected, and how you chose the ones that you did choose to measure the progress of the project?
So as I mentioned, the 3 dimensions that we looked at. So on the productivity side, we looked at what is the overall productivity gain that we have had in the development and testing. That was one of the key metrics that we started tracking across every single developer whom we chose from. The second is in terms of imparting a superior developer experience. So we have had multiple feedback coming in from developers of different experience levels, junior and then senior level developers, in terms of how do they think that this particular feature could enable them. What did that really translate into? How was it user friendly? Kind of. We administered a set of questionnaire, and we got a summarized feedback from that, which clearly reflected what they liked and what they did not. And that also gave us a sense of where we should really focus on. So that was some of the metrics on the developer experience side. On the operating model side, it was pretty clear in terms of how many user stories that we could really pass through, especially translating the productivity that we have gained in development and testing. How do we really translate into more throughput, more user stories that we can do? It's more of a projection that we could do that, which translated to clarity on how much more we could do with the same.
At the end of the project, you selected these KPIs. These were the measurements that you wanted to have. How did you perform against the KPIs? And high level, were there any areas where you overperformed? You're like, oh, geez, I did not expect that, or underperformed. Could you walk us through that part of the project?
In terms of productivity, we are fairly around 20% in terms of the coding and testing, which was in line with our expectations pretty much and consistent across the developer group. In terms of developer experience, and that's where we got phenomenal satisfactory feedback from developers. Probably we were overexcited to look at the way that all the categories of developers started adopting it. We got about 90% plus positive feedback from, of course, some improvements in terms of the usage. And in terms of operating model refinements, we came up with some points, and those were pretty much minor fine tuning. And that will really help us to take us forward.
You mentioned, and Bernard mentioned, that this effort was started with 2 squads. And, there's maybe 15 or 18 squads or teams in his organization. And you started with 2. And you did this initial project with those 2 squads, and you assessed and evaluated the results of the projects. So going forward, how do you see the project expanding? Any lessons learned that you might adopt into that expansion at Proximus?
In terms of certain lessons learned, we did see. So, in order to achieve the same level of efficiency and productivity on COTS applications like SQL, we had a custom link that we developed on top of SQL, which could have a seamless connectivity. And that helped us to seamlessly talk to SQL, which in turn resulted a better and improved productivity as compared to initial stages. That is number one. The second best practice is, as we are in the business of telco industry, we follow the TM Forum's open digital architecture standards. And we also found that the GitHub Copilot usage has been come in very handy. And we were able to adapt to the ODA standards and templates pretty much seamlessly because of its adherence to TM Forum standards. So these are some of the best practices, learnings that we had. And this is where we took over for other telcos as well in terms of our learnings that we gained from here.
So Murali, let's dive into that a little bit. You mentioned, alignment to industry standards like TM Forum. Specifically, how does something like GitHub Copilot help you align better to that?
So since GitHub Copilot has been oriented and tuned towards ODA framework, the standards and the APIs, whenever a developer starts calling out a particular API or a particular function from TM Forum's open digital architecture standard, we could see that GitHub Copilot was delivering much more efficient codes aligned to the standards. And we could also see the developers were able to do that as per the standards, as well as at a much faster pace as compared to manually doing the coding.
This would result in higher quality code.
Absolutely.
And potentially, if you have junior developers working on a project, potentially you have the ability to have them perform at a higher level more quickly.
Definitely, especially when we have some junior level developers, it is easy for them to not only improve their coding abilities and resulting in a better quality, but also when they pick up newer languages, it is much easier for them and get trained to multiple languages very quickly.
Interesting. So, to a large degree, this allows you to execute and perform according to these industry standards much more quickly, much more effectively, and at a higher quality level.
That's right.
I love it. The fact that that a solution like GitHub Copilot really allows you to scale much more quickly in very, very specific scenarios, very, very specific industries, and deliver code at higher quality is outstanding. This is an excellent reference on your side. Appreciate that level of detail. So going forward, your focus at TCS for driving AI competencies.
So if you really look at today, TCS is one of the leading partners with Microsoft, having number one certifications. And second, So we have built our own AI experience zone for as on top of Azure, where we are training significant number of developers, testers, programmers on the Microsoft technologies to drive competencies, not only on GitHub Copilot, but also in terms of Microsoft Azure OpenAI. And the third one, it's very importantly that we are engaging more proactively with many of our customers in the telco industry to see how we can train not only the TCS associates or developers, but also the customer side developers to make sure that there is a consistent value delivery across the value chain.
You're a little further down the path than many because you've always implemented a number of these projects. Any advice, any tips for organizations that are just now considering going down this path, telcos that are thinking about it, they're a little unsure of how to proceed? Any words of wisdom from yourself and your team to the industry?
I think a couple of points. One is, I think those who are in the early stages of embarking that. So it's a fantastic opportunity, not only to drive productivity, but two important things. Stakeholder alignment is very important. So getting the developers onboarded, listening to them, and then make them feel comfortable in this AI adoption journey is very important. Second, how do we really focus on making sure the pockets of efficiency that we generate in either in coding or in testing, how do you make sure that is translating into the overall DevOps value chain so that we can really see that in a big scale? So how do we streamline that to see that end-to-end capturing? I think these are a couple of things I would like to suggest people need to take care apart from just looking at productivity.
And for the freshers, the young people that are fresh out of college, looking for their first job, many of them want to be developers. Their mindset, the way they grew up, was really old school development. It's changing a little bit now. Any advice for young people coming into the workforce, hoping to get that first job as a developer and grow their career? Because GitHub Copilot, generative AI is changing what that role might look like. So any advice from you to the next generation of developers that are entering the workforce?
Yeah, I think these GitHub Copilot kind of tools are definitely knowledge companions to people who are just entering into that. And they are fully equipped with the standards and the best practices in coding and testing that are brought in by the tool. And I would say this would definitely accelerate and provide more efficient ways of either doing programming or testing. So I would say exciting days are ahead for them. And the new generation is going to look forward for more exciting ways of development.
So Murali, in closing, what is the unique differentiated value for TCS for the work that you've done in the telco industry?
Number one, the experience in the industry that we have working across the TM Forum standards, the ODA framework, that is number one. Second, the contextual knowledge that we have with our customers like Proximus in their business as well as in IT operations. And then the third one is about our holistic approach in terms of not looking at GitHub Copilot or AI just for productivity, but how do we take care of the human and the operations or the processes angle as well. And last but not the least, our global experience in AI deployments that we learn from other verticals, other industries. These are some of the differentiators that I would like to highlight.
So Murali, from our side at Microsoft, I would like to extend a warm congratulations to you on the success of this project. And also a thank you for all the work that you've done with us as a key partner for many years. So congratulations, thank you, and Murali, for those folks that would like to reach out, what's the best way for them to reach out and inquire about your project, about your organization and your skills and capabilities? Is there a social media handle that you'd like to mention?
I mean, people can reach out to me on my LinkedIn handle, and I'll be happy to address if they have any questions. And finally, James, thanks for you. And it was, I hope it's a wonderful conversation. And looking forward to have an enhanced partnership with Microsoft going forward.
Awesome, Murali. Thank you so much. For those of you that are listening, we will include the LinkedIn profile for Murali in the show notes. And I would encourage you to stay on and listen to our conversation with Bernard Raquet at Proximus, talking about his work with TCS using GitHub Copilot. Thank you, everyone. Murali, thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Good morning, Bernard. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, James. Thanks for having me.
Bernard, you are with a leading telco, Proximus in Belgium, and you've done some really interesting work with Microsoft and TCS and Generative AI. So would like to hear a little bit about yourself and your company before we get into the broader discussion on this really cool project that you recently completed.
Proximus is the leading telco operator in Belgium, delivering fixed and mobile services. We are also the incumbent in Belgium. We are now evolving to a global group in digital communications with BICS, Telesign, and Route Mobile that we recently acquired. I'm in the group since more than 20 years. I'm leading an IT department called Network IT, delivering and maintaining a portfolio of IT applications to support our national network business, applications like inventory management, design of the network operations, supporting the technicians in the field, or even technical provisioning of the services on the network.
You're in the middle of this whole, IT internal operations world, and you recently finished a generative AI project with TCS. So would like to understand, what was the problem that you were trying to solve for Proximus? And how did you look at that problem and say, I can improve this situation with generative AI?
So at company level, we are facing increased competition with business pressure on time to market, on customer experience. And for IT, it means that we need to really improve on IT delivery, on speed, on quality, on efficiency. So that's quite a challenge. And we had the opportunity of using new technologies like AI, generative AI, not only to deliver new solutions for the business, new ways of delivering value to the business, but also to transform the way we do IT and to increase the efficiency of the IT delivery.
Excellent. So what was it specifically that you looked at and said, I can do this better with generative AI? Let's talk through the use case, the problem you're trying to solve, the use case, and then how you came to the conclusion that generative AI could help you there.
Actually, it was an approach for all the IT teams within Proximus. We are looking at different technologies, and for everything related to the IT engineering, really building applications, we selected GitHub Copilot from Microsoft because we found that it was the most mature solution on the market. And we started the program with the goal to onboard all developers working at Proximus on the new GitHub Copilot platform. And the main goal of that program is really to improve the efficiency of IT delivery, to improve the quality, and to be able to deliver a solution faster to the business.
How did you start that conversation with your IT department? They've been doing business a certain way for many years, and all of a sudden someone comes in and says, starting on Monday, we're going to, U5 or U20 people will start to do things a little bit differently. How did you start the conversation? How did you select the initial organization that would be the leading edge for this new effort?
We had the ambition to onboard all the developers, and we decided to have an approach in different waves. Initially, we started with a few volunteers just to learn a little bit and to see what are the first reactions. And then beginning of this year, together with our partner TCS in my department, we decided to go for an approach of piloting with 2 squads. In my team, we have something like 15 squads, and we decided to pilot with 2 squads, where we had an approach of training the people, having also support from TCS and from Proximus for all the developers in the squads starting using Copilot, and also capturing their feedback and measuring what is really the difference when using Copilot versus the previous way of working. The idea was, based on the results of these 2 squads, to take the learning, to take the best practices, and then to extend and to scale to all the teams of the IT delivery.
So I'm really curious, Bernard, the learnings from those first 2 squads. First question is, what were they? And my second question is, was there anything in there that was really surprising, that was very unexpected, that you learned from your squads, right? You've been in industry for a long time. You understand, the story behind generative AI. So you may have had a lot of expected comments and recommendations back, but you may have had a few surprises. So I'm really keen to understand what those learnings were, and then if there's anything that came to you and you're like, oh wow, I did not expect that.
The 2 squads were squads working on solutions to help the network designers within Proximus, so the telco network designers. The first reaction of the people was enthusiasm, because everybody was curious to see, okay, what could this new technology bring to us? And it was a positive reaction, that's for sure. It was a quite easy adoption process. The beauty of GitHub Copilot is the level of integration of GenAI capabilities in the integrated development environment for the developers. So it's really a solution that is customized to the needs of the developer. And very quickly, we capture the feedback that it really helps them, for instance, to find information. It helps them to better document the code. And yeah, we didn't face major roadblocks. Surprising element, yes, we had some. For instance, the feedback on the impact on the daily activity for the developer. So there is now much more attention to the aspect of reviewing what Copilot is proposing, instead of really coding. And some young developers, actually, they like coding. And when they need to spend more time on reviewing what Copilot is giving, yeah, that's a change.
So what you're telling me is, a lot of young developers come into the workforce, their first job, and they're really enthusiastic about coding because that's what they love. That's what they've been doing in college. Maybe they did in high school, and it's their passion. And then they come into the professional world, and someone says, here's GitHub Copilot. It will do the coding for you. And now you need to be the reviewer and the quality control person. And maybe it's a change in mindset for the next generation of developers.
Absolutely, but this is a bit black and white. They also see the advantages that it brings, but that's a point of attention. And also we thought, okay, due to the fact that Copilot will help them to develop, we could have developers with maybe less experience But that, in fact, what we see is just to do this review, to deliver the code like suggested by Copilot, that we need people with a bit more experience. So this is something to take into account in the development of the developers. But it's also an opportunity because at the end, we also have the ambition to have people being able to do more than just purely development. We would like to have people with functional knowledge, capable also to do part of the analysis, to discuss the requirements with the business, to do the development, and also to do the testing at the end. So having a tool to help them in the phases of development and testing, because that's where we see the main benefit, will help us to develop these people to a broader skill set, I would say.
So in essence, the role will change from a very task specific role, i.e. develop this very specific code, to a broader, I hate to use the word strategic, but that's the word that comes to mind, a more strategic role where they will be reviewing business requirements, doing the testing, and maybe even talking with the end user, the customer, a little bit to make sure that what's being built meets customer requirements.
Yes, indeed. It will be a progressive evolution for sure. But the idea is that the developer will not be restricted to one activity, one task being developing code, and it will evolve to deliver a solution. And delivering a solution for the business indeed means that the developer should be involved in all the steps of the life cycle of the project. And I'm convinced this will also improve the quality of the solutions we deliver, because what we regularly see is that when you cut the life cycle into very siloed tasks, some people, in fact, they do not understand the context of what they do. Sometimes they receive technical requirements that are not completely aligned with the business requirements. And very often what we discover is during user acceptance testing that what the solution that we deliver is not exactly matching the business needs. And I'm convinced that the evolution of the role of a developer will help us to improve the quality of the solution that we will deliver to the business.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I've lived that. In my younger days, I was a developer, and you would get the requirements document tossed over the wall, and you would write to the document, and you would send it back. And then 80% of the time, the response back was, that wasn't what I asked for. Right? So what you're saying is there'll be tighter integration between both sides of the wall. The role of the developer will broaden a bit to understand the business requirements, and ultimately will be delivery of a solution and delivery of a higher quality product to the end user.
Yes, indeed.
How did your organization measure value? How did you measure ROI? Because I presume, there's a CFO somewhere that's saying, what were the improvements? I invested in this, and you're coming to me and asking to roll it out from 2 squads to something larger. So you probably had an ROI conversation internally. How did you measure that? How did you manage that conversation?
Yeah, we have a dashboard and we have KPIs, of course, on different aspects. The first one is the adoption. We have today something like 75-80% of adoption, which is okay. We are on track versus our plan. And we are also following up on efficiency improvement. So basically, the time saved thanks to the use of GitHub Copilot for developer. In average, what we see is that we save something like 20% of the development time. Now, the development time is not the full time of a day of a developer. So if you look really at the time we save in a regular day of a developer, it's about 30 to 40 minutes per day that we save. And the way we see it is just a way to kind of augment our development capacity thanks to the use of the technology. Knowing that efficiency is not the only benefit, like I explained, I'm also convinced that we will have benefits on the quality. That's a bit too early to measure, and that we also will do better solution thanks to the evolution of the role of the developer.
So Bernard, going forward, how is Proximus thinking about onboarding future developers and maybe hiring differently or training existing developer communities differently so that they can adopt this new technology and provide you more of these efficiencies and added value that we've discussed?
At Proximus, we are working mainly with IT partners for the delivery. In my team, it's mainly with TCS, and that's the reason why we started that initiative together with TCS. And basically, we will review the way we hire new people together with our partners. We are discussing with them also this evolution towards more broader profile. And it's a challenge for them because what we see is that we have a range of people with different ages, different experience in their teams, with a majority being very young people. um, so we will see with them how we can take the lessons from the project and make sure that we have the people able to take maximum benefits of these technologies. And for sure, it will mean for them to review the way they train the people, they educate their teams, taking into account the new context.
So this goes back to our discussion earlier, right? Of young developers coming into the industry, wanting to be developers. And now the business need, I think it sounds like from what we were discussing, is going to be, yes, you can be a developer, but you need to have that broader understanding of the business, and you need to manage the different aspects of that business need, the end user requirements, the business requirements, and not so much the technical requirements purely.
Yeah, indeed. And the challenge is that they often start with doing testing and development only. Many of these people, they also have ambition to grow and to do other things. So in that case, there is a match, of course, but still we have the challenge on how do we change the way of working with all the new people that we have in our teams.
Excellent. So that's something for our listeners to keep in mind. We have a combination of younger audience in our listener community and older audience as well. So that's a good point for them to consider. So Bernard, to close out the conversation, okay, there are other organizations that are considering going down the path that you've already started. So you're ahead of many of the people in your industry. Any lessons learned, any tips, any advice that you would provide to to others in your industry that might be considering something similar? Besides, don't do it and let Proximus stay in the lead.
Look, I think this is a wonderful moment in the IT world because it's a major change in the way to do IT. And actually, what we did is only like you say, it's only the start. We still expect many changes, many improvements in the solution to also integrate other aspects of the software lifecycle development into AI solutions. The advice should be to start as early as possible and to learn. The people are willing to embrace new technologies, so there is no fear to have regarding resistance or change management. But there is indeed a follow-up and a support to give to these people because there is a change. Like I explained, there is a change. There are also sometimes technical constraints. GitHub is not yet ready to work with all different technologies. So sometimes we need to adapt some technologies in our legacy applications, for instance, to be GitHub compatible. So you need to support the developer community, but an approach in waves, having the right support for the people will for sure give positive results.
Perfect. So I think you are spot on. This is an exciting time to be in this industry. There's the opportunity for ambitious people to really reach out and grab that opportunity that they've always wanted to be innovative, to grow, etc. But at the same time, there's a little bit of caution because we do work in enterprise environments, and we need to be conscious of the work that we deliver to our customers. It needs to be work that meets customer requirements on a global scale. We certainly appreciate, Bernard, your cooperation and collaboration with us, your partnership, outstanding. Thank you so much. And TCS, we've done multiple podcasts with them where they've had customers just rave about the partnership and the innovation that they bring to the table. So from Microsoft, we are very appreciative of your partnership with us and TCS's partnership. So Bernard, thank you very much. Your contact information, what's the best way for the audience to reach out if they have any questions for you? LinkedIn, are you on social media?
Yeah, LinkedIn LinkedIn is perfect.
Perfect. So for those of you listening, in the show notes, we will provide a LinkedIn profile for Bernard. If you have any questions, if you would like to get more details on his experiences, feel free to reach out. Bernard, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, James.